Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to FL-IDN for 2019 Professional Development Webinar Series. My name is Tom Tu. I am a statewide programs coordinator and instructional designer here at FL-IDN Florida Virtual Campus. FL-IDN is the statewide professional development network for the Florida instructional designers, learning designers, instructional technologists, learning technologists, and educators. The Instructional Designer Network is brought to you through partnership with the State University System of Florida Board of Governors and the Florida College System. Based on Florida's dual college-university system approach to designating quality online courses, today's webinar will address practical needs of instructional designers, facilitating faculty adoption of and engagement with continuous improvement quality assurance efforts for online course design. Let's meet our guest speakers today. We have Dr. Kelvin Thompson, Executive Director, Center for Distributed Learning at the University of Central Florida. We also have our speaker, Ms. Michelle Franz, Dean of eLearning, Seminole State College of Florida. With that, I'm handing it over to Dr. Thompson.
Thanks very much, Tom. So we thought, Michelle and I, that we would like to hear a little bit about what brought you to this session. Someone said in the chat a few minutes ago, hey, I'm really excited, looking forward to this. And well, that's awesome. That's very kind of you. But might you tell us what brought you to this session and what are you hoping to walk away with? And we're going to take just a few minutes at the beginning to let you type that out into the chat or in whatever way you can voice that. I think, Tom, that we don't have the ability for folks to chime in via microphone, right? But just tell us what you're hoping to walk away with and what brought you to this, and that'll help us align today's session and see if we're all on the same page or not. We'll take just a moment for that to take place. Thanks, Brenda. I see you're posting in the chat that you are deploying high quality and quality standards using the QM rubric as an internal course review, that you're already using QM for official external reviews, which is very helpful framing there. Others, what brought you here? What do you hope to learn? What's your compelling reason? What's not working for you that you want to have working a little bit better? Okay, thank you. I see from Cindy Mercereau at UWF that you're an ID and would work with faculty to design quality courses, looking for strategies to meet the new Quality State Quality Initiative. Great, super. Others? So far, pretty broad. Anything real in the weeds that you'd like to walk away with? Hi, Michelle, welcome. We are just hearing from some of our participants what brought them here and what they're hoping to walk away with. And we're seeing some postings slowly appear in the chat. Sid, hey, Sid, get all faculty to obtain HQ. Now that is an aspirational goal. That is awesome. I don't know that you're going to walk away today with all your faculty with an HQ, but I sure hope that the strategies that we share today will be on trajectory for getting there. Anyone else? Any compelling concerns? Have some of you in the past engaged in such quality course design review work and found it difficult to engage with faculty? And if so, what kind of challenges have you run into? Hi, Fran, I see you're posting there. Hoping to explore and adopt some best practices from institutions that are already initiating course quality indicators as presented by the BOG. Great. See, Cindy, time is the biggest challenge. Time for faculty to engage in the process, I assume. Anyone else that we've not heard from? There's like another 15 or so of you that have not spoken up that we could hear from. Brenda, thank you. Faculty time, big barrier for you as well. Great. Sid says faculty leave the certification review when they find out their course does not comply with QM. So is it sort of, Sid, like one and done? Like, okay, I tried that, got a bad mark, and so I'm walking away, as opposed to doing something about it? Is that the experience that you're saying? Kevin from UNF, it's all about time. Need more time. Yes, I often say that. It is all about time. Beverly Gavin, educating faculty on the importance of applying QM in course development. Importance of applying QM in course development, bringing faculty along in that. And Sid says, faculty perform self-review, say, yep, it's all good. And then we say, nope. And they say, bye-bye. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where we are, where we want to get people engaged, and self-reviewing is, at least for the Florida quality process, something that you can do. You can be one of the 2 or 3 people that are required to do a review for Q versus HQ. And, we are taking advantage of that by having the faculty developer do a self-review and act as the subject matter expert if we don't have another subject matter expert or a peer. And, of course, by and large, people are going to be honest, but there are some people that are, oh yeah, this is great, perfect, nothing wrong to see, nothing to see here. And then we come in and we've got, some constructive feedback, and yikes.
Yeah. And Cindy makes a comment that kind of reflects on the importance of hearing some sort of a mandate, or at least direction, quote, from the top, unquote, as opposed to IDs convincing faculty. Well, and I really hope that we have some suggestions today that you find useful. From where I sit here at UCF, I think the instructional designer teaching faculty relationship and dynamic is the single biggest mechanism for engaging faculty in the process. I think it's generative and sustaining, and while the overarching initiative is helpful, it's like the tree to hang the ornaments on, since some of us will be celebrating Christmas coming up in a couple of months. It's the actual, and the tree is only so helpful. It's the actual engagement in the hanging process, if you will, that that carries it out. Anybody else before we shift gears here? While you're thinking and typing, I will say one thing before Michelle goes to the next slide, which is that some of you have already referred to the overarching SUS FCS, that's Florida College System and State University System of Florida process. And I just would like to say that we're going to be zooming in today on strategies for instructional designers to frame their work with teaching faculty in the course quality design review process. The overarching initiative, there's lots of information online about that already, and I will put it in the chat here, but using the bit.ly shortening service, bit.ly/Florida Quality FAQ, bit.ly/Florida Quality FAQ, all lowercase, no spaces. You can get a lot of background information on this initiative if you're lacking any, and if you've got specific questions about or concerns about how the implementation should work at your institution, would really encourage you to talk to your chief online learning officer or to the representative on the combined dual system work group, and you'll find those representatives listed on that page as well. Over on the left, you'll see a list of work group members. That being said, Michelle, let's give us some context for this thing.
Do. And Beverly, if you look at the chat response just above what you did, your request for the URL, you got it. Excellent. So I didn't have the opportunity to say hello. I was running between meetings, as I'm sure many of us have done previously. So here I am. I'm from Seminole State College, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about posing the question and answering the question, why quality? So I think we've probably, addressed what the two system approach to higher education in the state of Florida is. So we do have the state university system. We do have the Florida college system. The origin of these quality indicators comes from the state, it originated from the State University System's Board of Governors 2025 Strategic Plan for Online Education, in which there were a number of I'm not even sure what you would call them, Kelvin. They're not benchmarks, they're suggestions or
strategies and tactics.
Thank you. Good God in heaven, Michelle. Strategies. There were a number of strategies to create or related to online education and where they wanted to be, the university system wanted to be by 2025. One of which related to online course quality. Sufficiently vague, right? So we all, as practitioners, we all know that quality can be design, quality can be instruction, it can be a number of things. So at that time, the Florida college system wasn't all that involved or was anecdotally involved. The state university system had indicated they wanted the FCS to be involved, and we were, but probably not as deeply as we are now. Where we are now is we have really that dual system approach where, you know, for the quality group, you know, there is equal representation of both systems, and we create circumstances for each system to buy in. And Kelvin will talk as we continue on a lot about getting buy-in, right? So we want to get people to yes. We don't want to scare them away. And I know that's a huge scenario for us here at Seminole, where, and I'm sure at most institutions, faculty feel very passionately about the ownership of their courses and materials. And you know, so relying on an instructional designer or somebody who isn't either a subject matter expert or a genuine faculty peer is something that makes them very uncomfortable. But, you know, we're hopeful that, given the fact that even though this is a dual system approach, putting things into context and helping us create circumstances and buy-in for faculty to embrace these course indicators is, you know, the student, right? Why are we all here? We're here for our students. And many times we serve the same students. So Kelvin and I happen to serve the exact same students, right? So Seminole State, the institution we feed the most students to is UCF. And so we are a direct connect partner with them. They are our local university partner. So we are very tightly bound together. And so what we do here at Seminole State directly impacts the student's ability to be successful at UCF. So we try to help our faculty understand that, you know, they're going to see different types of quality between here and UCF. And our goal is to create quality experiences that raise that student, if they need to be raised, to that level of academic success and achievement that UCF is setting forward. So, you know, we really do want to create a level of consistency. You know, we're not going to do the exact same things because we're two different institutions, but the quality indicators give us kind of this commonality that we can say to our faculties at our respective institutions and say, yes, we're serving the same students, and here's how we can do that together and, you know, create a consistent experience while still providing enough opportunity to be unique in how we're doing it, vis-a-vis, you know, UCF has its own personality and Seminole State has its own personality, you know, but we're really working for the benefit of the student. And so we try to approach it in that regard. We are continuing our work to collaboratively develop, revise, and implement the online course quality standards. It is slow going, but it is something that continues to move forward. I will say that we also find find ourselves, because of that dual system approach, in different places at different times, right? So, you know, the FCS may want to do something a little bit different than the SUS. And while we're trying to align and be consistent, there may be some nuances. But the one place where we are pretty much all in, all together, is the idea of a Q designator and then an HQ designator, and how the institution goes about training their folks and how they get to those places. There's an equivalency process, and we're pretty committed to that as well. But by and large, we're all on the same page. It's just kind of how we're getting there and what our benchmarks are and timing. Kelvin, do you have anything to add to that? You're muted.
So I am. I think that sets a great context for the why we're doing all this. The initiative really is a great stimulus for stuff that we should probably have been doing anyway. Yeah. So why don't you take us on to the next section there, Michelle?
So why should we be thinking about quality? Can somebody, there we go. So when we're talking about engaging faculty, I spoke to one way that you can bring faculty along who may be hesitant. You know, with that dual system approach of, you know, yeah, this is a statewide initiative. It is an opt-in initiative. We use the words opt-in quite a lot to make faculty feel comfortable. But it is one that creates consistency from our institution to the next, where the majority of our students are transferring forward. But when we're engaging faculty, we try to very much align our quality efforts towards our institutional goals. I think every single one of us has mission, vision, and goals, right? And what are those goals? And they're pretty student-centered for the most part. And one way that we can continue to encourage our faculty to be embracing of the quality indicators is, A, it's just the right thing to do, right? But B, it fulfills the goal of the institution and achieves greater student success, hopefully. And then it's also an outcomes approach to continuous improvement. So I don't think there's anybody in this workshop that probably hasn't heard of or endeavor to be continuously improving everything they do. But online education in particular, given that it is at its core based on a foundation of technology, the potential for you to mix things up and continuously improve your course, even those with a great course, is there, because people are trying to be new. And, you know, that segues into innovation. So, you know, looking at course quality from an innovation perspective. So if you have somebody who is kind of dragging their feet on quality, you know, can you approach them with an innovation mindset of, you know what, you're doing a really great job, and, you know, your students love your course, and here are some ideas, you know, do you want to do something a little more innovative? And then you can push the quality pieces that you may think that need to be embraced by a faculty member by, you know, it may not be innovation in that it's innovation in the grand scheme and it's like this brand spanking new thing that no one's ever done before, but for that faculty member, it may be innovative. And it may get them over that hump from Q to HQ. And then it's also can be data driven, right? So we have, and I'm sure everybody else does too, have our student perceptions of instruction. And at the end of every semester, their students rate their instructors based on certain questions. And those perceptions are actually factored into the, at least here, because we are unionized faculty here, those results actually factor into their performance evaluation. And so they are, faculty are very much tied to those metrics. And so how can we tie quality into, you know, achieving better metrics in those areas where they impact the faculty member the most and benefit from that passion to not just serve their students, but also to do it well, and see that they are doing so through the evaluation that the student is providing, as well as the student success numbers.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to that, Michelle, and this is for me the oracle center point of the bullseye, is that at UCF we see engaging faculty in the course review process through relationship with an instructional designer from a continuous improvement standpoint as the most sustainable and generative approach that we can take. Certainly more so, at least in our state university context, certainly much more so than mandating reviews. Mandating doesn't go so far in our environment. Plus, I would say that this kind of approach, instructional designer to faculty, is much more collegial and respectful. Now, that assumes that this is not an evaluative framing, right? You could take that. Some institutions do take that approach. That's not the approach that that we take. We take a continuous improvement one.
Well, and Kelvin, I'll speak back to that a little bit too. We're situational, and so we don't take the same approach with every single faculty member. We may take one of any approaches based on who that faculty member is. If it's somebody that we know is, really apprehensive about our involvement and participation in reviewing a course, or perhaps it's somebody who's a technology person, technology phobe, or just isn't comfortable in the online space, but they're teaching because they have to make load. So there are just so many nuances and circumstances. Exactly, Cindy. We meet our faculty where they are, and we bang that continuous improvement drum, much like I said, which is it may be innovative for that particular faculty member, but it may not be like this, oh my gosh, no one else in the country is doing this, and we're going to be able to present this at every conference, and this grand sweeping idea that's going to take the nation by storm.
So we've set the stage for our dual system initiative. We've focused in for a moment on, kind of the compelling reason for instructional designers to engage with faculty. But the meat of our time together here is really suggestions for practical on-the-ground strategies, kind of a how-to, or at least how can I kind of approach. So Tom, if you don't mind switching to that next slide, then we will get into that. And again, please do continue to post questions or comments in the chat. We'll keep an eye on that. And I don't think we commented on this, but I agree with Cindy's comment as well that when I said generative earlier, I think her point's well taken here. The process, this continuous improvement, quality course design review process will improve each course for students and faculty. And quick anecdote. So we were sort of early into our rejuvenated, formalized approach, frankly, stimulated by the impending state initiative. And one of our key instructional designers working in this initiative, as we were in our, I think, first pilot semester, was working with a faculty member who I've known for a very, very long time, haven't seen him in a long time, kind of keeps to himself, teaches online, and she had sent out some probing emails inviting faculty to engage in this process, did a really nice job of that, and I saw him meeting with her, and I said, well, so how was that? Because I wasn't quite sure how it would be, and you read between the lines. And she said, yeah, well, that's my third meeting with him, and I don't know if he's ever going to get a quality designation. But he keeps coming back, and we keep working on stuff. And I said, I think that's fine. it's not ultimately, while we're trying to see numbers go up and there's reporting, at least on the SUS side at this point, but Cindy's point is right on the money. If we do this right, a rising tide lifts all ships, we like to say in our quality work group. And for every Q and HQ designation there is out there, there are plenty of other engaging moments like the one that I've recounted, where things are getting incrementally better, even if they don't reach some sort of a course designation level. And I have to think that if we're doing standards alignment, that's getting better for the students, clearer expectations, that's getting better for the faculty, happier students, and so forth. So with that being said, we've sort of on this slide differentiated between what we might call a carrot approach and a stick approach. I'm kind of pro carrot in this situation. We've already used this phrase a little bit. I'll comment on a couple of these, and we'll invite Michelle to do so as well.
And I'm a little on the side of the stick, so only a little though. I mean, not only if I have to be.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So we've said opt-in. When I think opt-in at the faculty level, here's you've already heard me say it. The word that comes to my mind is invitation. Invite. That is our framing here at UCF. We invite faculty to participate in this course quality design review process. We try to appeal to the felt needs of the faculty. And I'll talk about this again in a moment, but some of that is getting the timing right? You can appeal to felt needs at the wrong time and it'll fall flat. If you appeal to felt needs at the right time, you might have a situation like the anecdote I shared, where you have somebody who hasn't really engaged in quite a while, shows up and wants to engage and make things a little bit better. So what are felt needs? I mean, there's probably as many felt needs as there are faculty at each of our respective institutions, but I can say that some of that, I think, is accessibility, right? Like, ooh, there's a big word, and some folks are like, well, I have no idea. I have no idea what, I had a student registered who needs accommodations, and I didn't know where to start. And so you can paint a picture of, well, going through this process, we can work on your materials being more accessible. For some folks, that has appeal. For others, the idea of making the course progression path and expectations clearer for students, not easier, right? Not dumbing down coursework, but making the logistical process clearer, the expectations clearer, which leads toward happier students ultimately. You won't want to be disingenuous, but it's entirely possible that as you work on clarifying things in course design, that you will see end of term student review ratings going up, because there are certainly some faculty who are like, hey, my students aren't real happy with how this process is going. Well, you might consider a course quality design review, and maybe that'll be a better thing. So that idea of invitation, sending out probing emails at the right time of semester, choosing which faculty to send emails to. Are there faculty who haven't engaged? Are there faculty who have been teaching for a certain period of time and could maybe stand to have their course reviewed? Thinking in terms of invitation and extending the invitation to the right people, I think is particularly a helpful carrot approach. Before moving on to the next bullet, do you have anything to add to that one, Michelle?
I do, but I think it probably will fit into championing new initiatives a little bit better, because we invite folks to champion the new initiatives. So yeah, invitation is a good thing.
Good, that's super. That'll be good foreshadowing. The second point is, this is something I say a lot in my work, and I think it applies to so many things, but make it easy to say yes. Make it easy for the faculty member to engage. Make it easy for the participating faculty to do the right thing. How do you remove friction points? How do you make a smooth onboarding process? So I think a part of that we approached early on in our formalized process here at UCF is really trying to simplify, make it a graspable, understandable process. At first, we just talked about quality course design reviews. We didn't talk about high quality, just quality. And we put up a diagram that showed, even though there's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes, a fairly straightforward process, just a few steps. It didn't really matter, to the participating faculty member if there's a whole bunch of behind the scenes steps. We don't need a complex flow chart. We need to see it from the faculty standpoint. What do they need to do? How do you make this as understandable a process as possible? And so when you're doing that cost benefit analysis of deciding whether to invest time in this or not, how can you reach the tipping point that says this is more in my best interest than a pain, right? Timing is a part of that I mentioned before. For us, we try to pay attention and we track this. When is the 1, 2, 3rd time that the faculty member has taught this particular course online? And before the 4th time, say, hey, you've been teaching this for a while now. It's probably somewhat stable. Now is a great time to take a fresh look at this. I would be happy to be another set of eyes taking a look and giving you some feedback. So that timing is really important. And so there's several things with timing that we do through our database. We track that way. Also, the fact that, and this is somewhat the way the initiative as a whole is structured, but calling this out, just like I said, we led with the Q designation, and then once you have some quality designations, you know what? You're a great candidate. You did great. You're a great candidate for this other thing, high quality designation. We don't tell just anybody about that. For you, no sense in being overwhelming. And then, hey, here's this teaching excellence award that we offer. High quality designation is a prerequisite. You want to be considered for the high quality, for the teaching award? Get a high quality designation. Oh, how do I do that? We'll start with the quality designation, work your way up. So alignment between all those structures is kind of compelling, and one thing leads to another. And we've seen that to be rather helpful. And the last thing I'll say about this is, and we do this here, it's a resource issue. It may not be practical where you are. You have to decide for yourself. But we try to identify punch list items that we here in our office could do for the faculty member if they so chose. Now, there's some things you can't do for faculty member. Only the faculty member can do that, right? I can't come up with alt text for an image because I don't know what the reason that image is there for, right? It's a red pot. No. It's an example of pre-Columbian, something, whatever. But there are certain things that we can do. We can make the HTML table headings appear correct so that the HTML is structural. We can facilitate with a transcript the captioning of a video. There's things that we can do, and so we offer to do them as a make it easy to engage kind of a process. And I know that you're waiting for that championing one, Michelle, but do you have anything to add in on the make it easy to say yes?
Well, I think we're pretty much like you in that, to the extent that we can do it for you, because for us, it's about the time, which has been mentioned in the chat, and a resource allocation where, all of our faculty are teaching. They don't have research responsibilities. I'll go back to the union scenario. They're contractually obliged to do a certain number of professional development hours. They're contractually obliged to do college service. And so, you have to do more with less, both time and yourself. And so they're focusing, and rightfully so, on supporting the students. And, as much as some may want to do some continuous improvement in quality, where does that fall on the priorities when they're teaching, 5 sections of English 101 and working with hundreds of students? That, the time to do those technical things and innovative things is pretty short. So, we, like you, try to get them to yes by saying, we can do that part for you. I mean, we can't do this part. I don't know about chemistry, so I'm not even going to pretend to be able to help you with that. But if you give me, some ideas, I can put something together, and then all you have to do is look at it and, tell me what works, tell me what doesn't work, or edit it yourself. I mean, but you've got a foundation in place to jump off from, and you're not spending all that time doing the foundational work that we can do for you.
I'm going to kind of, for my comments, combine the bottom left two bullets, the engagement in innovation and the championing a new initiative, and then invite Michelle's comments. Because for me, from where I sit right now, these two kind of align. In terms of perceiving oneself as an innovator, we offer up like a visual identifier, some bragging rights for quality and high quality. We don't list that in our course schedule search, visible for students, but we offer a visual identifier to the faculty who meet the requirements for quality or high quality, and invite them to place the visual identifier in their course. And then we have on our website, we link that visual identifier to some explanation of what this is. If you see this in your course, what does that mean? And it means the faculty has really chosen to engage in continuous improvement and wants her or his course to be as best as it can be and is trying to make things better. So some faculty really respond to that. They want to say, hey, my course is really good, and I want my students to see that. And it's evidence that I care about this work that I'm engaged in. And then that whole idea that we offer here an Excellence in Online Teaching award, and that these quality designations are stair steps toward the possibility of that kind of teaching excellence recognition. Design is foundational for teaching excellence. It's a little bit arbitrary to pull those two things apart, but that's the way we've structured it. And we have seen folks come along in the pipeline, like they see their end goal is wanting to go for that teaching award, so they understand they're going to start back here a year in advance and work toward quality designation, high quality designation, and then submitting for the teaching award. And so I say, for me, those two things go together: innovation and championing a new initiative. There are some folks who just want to be a part of something new and advancing the state of the art. I don't know that we see as many faculty who are like, ooh, this is great that we're doing a quality initiative that the state thinks is a good idea. Let me wave the flag for that. That may not be quite the motivation, but the idea of seeing oneself as a leader in terms of quality or high quality course design, and as somebody who aspires to be considered an excellent online instructor. Those are things that we try to appeal to. What comments, Michelle, do you have about the engagement and innovation or the championing the new initiative?
Well, I think I've spoken to innovation already, so I'll leave my comments on that alone. But championing new initiative kind of segues really well for me into the stick approach, because how we've done it here is it kind of goes to this pick your audience scenario as well, where, who are the people that aren't going to be like hands off. I want nothing to do with this. This is not it for me. So you kind of start with where do I know there are people that would be engaged in something like this and be open to engagement in an initiative like this, and start from there. And while we strive for that to be faculty, sometimes it's a dean or a program manager, or in my case, an assistant or an associate vice president. And, when I'm talking about picking my audience, we have great buy-in and great faculty advocacy and passion for quality from some of the programs that are more compliance oriented. So nursing, allied health, skill-based programs that have their own licensure requirements and are used to being statutorily or license or governing body, ruled by a governing body and some sort of standard, right? So they're already in that mentality. And so if we're saying to them, okay, well, we're working on this, statewide initiative, and there's quality and high quality, and these are the standards we've created in our rubric, and we have training and all these things, and they're really comfortable with that, because participating in something like that goes to show their accreditation bodies that they're doing these things, that they're paying attention to quality, that they're bought in. And they are actually bought in as well, right? They want their students to have the best possible experience. So where I am right now is that the associate vice president of the academic unit that houses a number of those kinds of workforce compliance minded, a little less, and I say this with a lot of respect, a little less touchy-feely. Like our arts and sciences folks feel very passionate about their ownership and their content, and they're the expert in all things. And so that's just the culture here. So it's harder for us to work with folks on the arts and sciences side than it is for us on the kind of workforce, business, allied health side. And so, using kind of this system-based approach and the obligation that these indicators may become visible to the public, and do we want to be the only people without an indicator, kind of stick approach, a little abbreviated of that is, going to these folks and saying, hey, do you want to do this? And, we got the program managers for our business, legal, and entrepreneurship departments together at the behest of our associate vice president to talk about it, right? So, as a business unit, do we want to do, pilot this process that Seminole has developed to be part of this high quality course indicator statewide thing, and champion that initiative for the institution. Because not only does it give us the visibility of championing that initiative as a department, but it also gives us the ability to influence how this process works, right? So, theoretically, they could have more flexibility. Because they're piloting it, they could make suggestions that will enhance the process for other people. And that just gives them more commitment to go to their peers and the faculty and say, hey, as a business unit, we did this. And it was really, low stakes for us to do, but high impact for our students and our accreditors and all the people that are influenced by the courses that we are providing. So we're working through that right now.
The only thing I'll say is the statutory obligations, or more the stick approach. I alluded to this briefly. When we rolled out here a more formalized approach to course design quality reviews, mentioned state initiative, the Board of Governors on the part of the SUS, the Board of Governors strategic goal for a culture of quality permeate our online education efforts. And so that was our way in as sort of here's why we're starting now, but then we quickly have de-emphasized that, and we really have appealed to continuous improvement at this point.
And I know there are some institutions that are taking like the hard stick approach, right? Like, we have to do this because those indicators are going to go live at some point, and our president or our VPAA or whomever, wants to make sure that all of our courses have a quality indicator so that we're not looked at as having no quality, right? And I will say that my institution is not a hard stick approach in that same way, but we do use the stick in that we say, okay, do we want to be the only ones that don't have the indicators? And maybe we do, or maybe there are some faculty that do. We may never get some faculty to yes. Do we care if it's 100% or 90%? Because if we get 90%, that's pretty damn good. We may not get to 100%, but I mean, I'd be happy with 50 or 60%, I think it's the journey. And again, going back to this situational circumstance where, you know, there may be one unit that likes the carrot and you can get them with the carrot. And then there's a unit that may need a little bit more of the stick.
Well, we really don't want to end the dialogue here. One, we really want to see this as a dialogue, and we really want to stay engaged as a community, especially in our public institutions in Florida, in both systems, the Florida College system and the State University system of Florida. So to that end, Tom, if you don't mind advancing to the next slide, we'd really like to encourage each of you to think in terms of application from today, specifically, like take a second, take 30 seconds, reflect upon what you've heard, identify one thing. What is one nugget from today that you could put into application in your context? And you know what? Take the plunge, type it out in the little chat. I'm going to try to do X. And maybe it's in the next 30 days, maybe it's in the next semester, maybe it's set yourself some kind of a goal, put it out there. That's one thing. Start doing that now. Meanwhile, how can we build momentum for this kind of activity, this continuous improvement, rising tide lifts all ships, quality work in our Florida public institutions? How can we build momentum from within the instructional design network community? Should there be additional webinars? Should there be shared documents? Should there be, what can we do? How do we help each other in this work? How do we share best practices?
And as you're reflecting, if you have questions that you have of us, then don't hesitate to throw them in the chat. There's also a QA box. Ask the question in the QA box. Either Kelvin or I will be happy to reply.
I see that from Cindy. Regular ID meetings about what is working and what is not working. I assume specifically related to this quality work engaging with faculty. What would that look like, Cindy? Is that in the context of like a periodic, maybe in the place of a presentational webinar? It's more of a idea sharing webinar, or is it a face-to-face gathering? Is it a phone call? How do we facilitate that? And what other thoughts do others have? Nice of you to come. Great. Glad you listened. But you know what? This isn't worth a dime if you don't take something away and apply it in your context and help others do the same. Ann Smith, we should have a Florida Award for Excellence in Teaching Online in Florida for post-secondary faculty. Interesting you would say that. Again, we're trying to bring alignment between both systems efforts, the SUS and the FCS. On the SUS side, as a part of our Board of Governors strategic plan for online education, and an awards structure is called for. And it also calls for us to coordinate and align with the Florida College system. And so we are, Michelle and I and our colleagues, Mike Nathanson and Deb Miller, and all who join us in the work group have been talking through how to keep in concert. So yes, I totally agree with you. Calling out excellence through teaching awards is a great thing. What other ideas do you have? What other things are you thinking about doing personally as a result of the webinar here?
Or do you have anything that you're doing that's working really well that we didn't talk about? Because I'm open to suggestions too.
Absolutely. Very good. Would not want to inadvertently convey that we think we have this figured out, because we do not.
We're flying by the seat of our pants.
Every day. I said, thanks for coming.
Well, thank you very much, Kelvin and Michelle, and thank you everybody for coming. I want to encourage you to subscribe to FL-IDN listserv, which is a forum and working tool in support of the Instructional Designer Network. So please feel free to email me if you are interested in subscribing or encouraging your colleagues to subscribe to the listserv. When we end the session today, there will be a very brief survey popping out. Please help us fill out that survey. It will only take you less than 2 minutes. Your feedback for us to improve those webinars and events. Thank you so much again, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.